Mọi người, mình là Vi, là host của chương trình podcast Con người hiện sinh, là một cái dự án cộng đồng hướng tới việc lan tỏa một cái lối sống hướng thiện, chân thành, tốt đẹp, dựa trên một cái tinh thần cốt lõi của hiện sinh, đó là be yourself, sống trong thực tại và tỉnh thức trong thực tại, cũng như là chịu trách nhiệm với cái con đường, cái suy nghĩ và quyết định để có thể là sống trong một cái thế giới cái khủng hoảng, cái biến động. Từ đó là cái nội dung podcast con người hiện sinh hướng tới. Cái điều hay của cái podcast con người hiện sinh đó là khách mời của con người hiện sinh podcast có thể là bất cứ ai. Chúng tôi sẽ bắt gặp những con người mà chúng tôi gọi là những nghệ sĩ cuộc đời, thì chúng tôi tin rằng là ai cũng sẽ có cái nghệ thuật của riêng mình khi mà họ có một sự cống hiến, một sự tập trung để làm tốt cái việc của họ. Thì ngày hôm nay tôi xin được mời đến chương trình một vị khách quay đến từ nước Úc xa xôi, nhưng mà có một cái duyên với Việt Nam, cũng là một người yêu mến nghệ thuật, đặc biệt là nghệ thuật của Việt Nam, và cũng luôn sắp xếp thời gian để có thể trở về Việt Nam sau một năm để có thể là support cho những cái hoạt động thiện nguyện tại Việt Nam, cũng như là support cho cái local business. Thì ngày hôm nay xin giới thiệu đến với chương trình chị Liz, khách mời của chúng ta ngày hôm nay. Please welcome Ms.Liz from Australia.
Thank you, Lee. Hello, my name is Elizabeth. My nickname is Liz. So I undertake annual trips to Vietnam to do charity work as well as support local talent and local business.
Yeah. So thank you for accepting our invitation for joining us today. And let's get straight to the first part of the podcast. Okay. Maybe some tea first for you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. This is the tea we take all the ingredients from Vietnam, like the lotus seed, the ginger, and the red rice from Vietnam. Very good. Yeah.
I love it. It's so fragrant. Our listeners can't obviously smell, but this is absolutely lovely.
Yeah, right.
And it's just as delicious.
Thank you. It's good for the hot days like this. Yeah. Have you ever heard about Master Thích Nhất Hạnh?
Actually, funnily enough, I have. So I love reading, and I have read a few things by this master. He, from what I understand, he is an incredibly wise Buddhist monk, and his quotes and his thoughts and his sayings are widely quoted in the West. So that's how I know of him. It's not as extensive as obviously the average Vietnamese person, but nonetheless I do have some kind of understanding of his wisdom.
Yeah. And by chance today, before you come to our place, I have a look at the bookshelf. My eye just stick to one book. That's the book from Thích Nhất Hạnh, Master. Yep. And for the first part, it's very interesting that because every day we have a meditation section every day for people to come and meditate, and to give them like the message, the random message, the wise message from a wise man. We always choose one book from our bookshelf for them to pick, and somehow they know exactly what is the message for them. And today I want you to do the same.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think I'm gonna be the one who do this, and then we can see what's the message for us today.
Make it very organic. I love it.
Yeah.
Yep,
so
let's go ahead.
Let's do it. Okay. So this one is interior recollection.
Okay. All right. So
you wanna read?
Yes. Okay. So what the master is talking about is about prayer and about meditation, and interior recollection to me is essentially about your thoughts and just essentially your daily life, your daily life in spiritual terms. So I actually work in a hospital. I work in a public hospital in Sydney. It's one of the biggest teaching hospitals in the state of New South Wales. It's an adult hospital, and adjacent to that is Children's Hospital. So when we talk about, our spiritual life, we actually have a chaplain, and we have a little chapel in our hospital, and that chapel is available for all religions. So every day it's available for the Muslims to pray, and every Thursday there's a session at lunchtime where they actually have a prayer session for the Catholics, and the rosary is recited as well. So I really love that. Sometimes what I do is when work just gets a bit too hectic and a bit stressful, I'll actually sit in that little chapel just for about 5 minutes, and I find that it actually centres me. What I also really like is that we actually also have chaplains on site, and those chaplains can be called upon to speak to patients if the patients require it. And it's not just for the Christians. So the service that's offered by the hospital actually covers all religions. So I've seen all matter of different religions and their religious leaders on site in the hospital. In addition to that, there's a lot of art around the hospital as well, and in fact in the Children's Hospital, their art constitutes actually is a registered art gallery. So it's in our practices in hospitals in Australia, we actually incorporate the spiritual. It's really important in facilitating the healing of the patient. So because we actually see this as the patient has to be treated holistically. And so even for me, before I start work every day, I actually say a little prayer, which essentially consists of, please just let me give my best to the patients today, because I have to be in a place physically, mentally and spiritually where I can give my best to a patient, because that's what we're here for. Healthcare professionals, we're here for the patient. We're here to actually devote our service to the patient. And so for me, just combining the spirituality in my clinical practice, that forms a really important underlying part of my practice in patient care.
Yeah, that's very cool. So I'm still thinking about the sentence, interior recollection.
It's just 2 words, isn't it? It's amazing how 2 words can express so much.
A lot of meanings in one sentence.
Exactly. And I feel like this master is he's just so gifted with words that only 2 words can have, as you say, so many layers of meaning. It not only refers to your spiritual life, so I've been primarily talking about my spiritual life and how that affects my practice, but it's also about just your internal monologue. And what I find is that something that I do tell patients a lot is that you need to be attuned to what your body is telling you. So, a lot of people that I see, they have heart attacks, but they initially ignore it because they think, I must be having, reflux, or I must be having an asthma attack. And I just tell people, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what you think it is or you don't think it is. If it's anything involving your chest and it's pain, come back into hospital straight away. We will take over, and the doctors they'll investigate you. They'll tell you what it is. But just listen to your body. Be attuned to your body, and that's what internal recollection also involves. It's about listening to your body.
Yeah, but I believe that just not only in the health problem.
That's right.
But also for everything in our life.
Exactly.
Every aspects from our life.
Exactly.
That means that we have to always look into ourselves, right? To recognize the problems, and then straight to the problem, and then try to find the solution to solve it. Otherwise, it's gonna be it's gonna be worse someday. It's getting worse. And I think that's also the meaning of the existential human. In these days, have to be right, because these days the world is changing so much, so fastly, and people just run, and sometimes they just ignore the signs, right? From the body, from the situation of their mental health, or the family problems, or even themselves. They get stuck in the world, the running world. So that's why, that's very meaningful sentence.
And obviously I'm talking about it from a healthcare context, but absolutely it's talking about your internal life, and really it's about being in tune with who you are and your essence, because really, I believe that God or the universe or Mother Nature or however you want to express it did give us sentience and gave us the intelligence to actually better ourselves. So I think that in order to be the best version of ourselves, we do need to be more cognizant of our internal lives, our essence. And I believe that it's just a matter of, we're constantly evolving to be the best that we can be. I would hope that we're all striving to be the best that we can be. And I agree with you, the world is changing so fast, and you're swimming but you're not getting anywhere. It's like what we call it a dog paddle, like the way dogs paddle in water. They're paddling but they're not getting anywhere. And life is just so materialistic, and it's just based on consumption, physical appearances, and just the outward, what I consider a shell. And exactly what you say, people just ignore their internal life, and that's our essence. You could even call it, some people might call it the soul, but that's your very essence, and that's something that really needs to be nourished and looked after and cultivated and nurtured, because that's who you are. And so that's why I think it's wonderful that you hold these meditation sessions in the morning, because that is actually how you should start the day with being grounded. I even do it too in my practice. I'll actually meditate for about 5 minutes. But it's really all about nurturing your inner self, because it's just so important. It's just crucial to everything that you do.
I have a question for you, actually related to this. Actually, when people heard about meditation or art therapy or taking your time to look back to yourself, something like that, the one who have enough money, enough good condition, that's fine. They have the good observation and recognition, right? Workers who have to go to work every day, everybody facing the crisis from the work, from the changing of the world. But how do you think about how they can solve the internal problem without the condition that I mentioned?
So I think about this a lot. And I agree with you. If you're in a materially and financially comfortable position, you do have the ability to nurture your essence, your inner self, and you do have insight, because you've got the time to have that insight. But with the poor, they lead what we call in the West a hand-to-mouth existence. So their existence is pure survival. And so obviously they're not going to have the time to nurture their inner self, and they just don't have time to nourish themselves internally. So, and that's something that crosses my mind a lot. So when I come to Vietnam and I undertake my charity work, part of my charity work actually constitutes paying for the education of children from really impoverished backgrounds and really marginalised communities. And so when I speak to them, I actually tell them that they need to set some time out for themselves and themselves only. So that is my way of planting a seed and just telling them that you need to nurture yourself. And I actually do mention, the ones who are in their final year of school, I actually do mention things like meditation. However, having said that, just because one is financially struggling or living in poverty, that doesn't mean that they haven't got an inner life. So there was actually there was a Indian mathematician many years ago who was actually absolutely brilliant. So he did not even finish primary school, I think, or he was going from primary school to high school, and he was living in very basic conditions. And because he didn't even have paper, I think he was using old newspaper, and he was just writing out equations. And then one day he did finish high school. He submitted his equations to a British journal, and because one of the mathematicians in that British university, which I think was Oxford University, recognised his talent, they actually organised him to go over to the UK. And so he was solving all these mathematical equations without any formal training. So for me, that's really someone who is very in touch with their internal life. And one of the mathematicians, he was a professor, he was very experienced, and he was one of the, he was quite notable in his field. He's very distinguished. He said, every time I teach him an equation, he comes up with another dozen more, and he'll solve it in a way that that's not been thought about before. And when I ask him, he can't give me any justification for how he actually solves that equation. He just says it just comes about. And so that particular that particular mathematician was responsible for mentoring him and supporting him. And so that Indian mathematician, he was quoted as saying, I don't even know how these equations come about. I'm just guided by God. So that's an excellent example of someone who's really in touch with their spiritual life and their essence. And to this day, there's actually a day each year that India celebrates this particular mathematician because he was just so gifted and so in tune with his internal life. So on the whole, yes, it is difficult for people living a hand-to-mouth existence in poverty to be in touch with their spiritual life and inner self. But I hope that when I undertake my charity work with the kids that whose education I pay for, that when I speak to them, I put in little seeds, and hopefully those little seeds can then speak to their peers, and then by that we start by growing a little garden, and I hope that by the end of it all, decades later, that garden grows into a beautiful big forest. So I feel that there are ways that we can all make a difference, and I feel that that's one way that we can make a difference, just through the imparting of knowledge and teaching others.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so very interesting hearing your stories, your experience with the one you help. I asked you because it happens a lot in Vietnam and in the world. It happens with the young generation because they feel stressed with the society, with the speed of the world, and they have to face a lot of don't know where and don't know how to continue to go their own path. But I think that like you said, like when people have the belief in spiritual thing, that's gonna help people with who don't have a lot of good condition to help to fulfill their own soul, and how to retreat themselves, how to go inside to be treated. That's also our struggle, but we are on our way to do it because we have a strong feeling to do it. Yeah, because helping people with our way is also a way for us to treat ourselves.
So I know what you mean. You're talking about your inner life, and you're talking about insight. So insight is the ability to actually know yourself. So I actually do have a friend who's she's Anglo-Australian, and she told me a few years ago that she walks and she doesn't carry any money on her. So like all of us, she's neither rich, she's neither poor, she's in the middle class, but she walks with no money on her, and she lives in a boat, and she has her cat, and that is it. So there's no shower. She has to get her little ship onto shore, and then that's where she has her shower, or she'll come into work every day and she has a shower. But she lives her life very simply because she believes in one's true essence and one's spiritual life, and she's a real follower of Buddha. She just loves Buddha's teachings.
Yeah.
So it's about thinking beyond that, and why are we praying, and why are we going through with these traditions? There has to be something that's underlying this. There has to be something that's driving this. It's not just a mechanical, I'm going to burn the incense, I'm going to offer some food to my ancestors. They just need to be able to understand why they're doing that. And that's how you become in touch with your spiritual.
Agree. Yeah. So focus on being yourself, trying to know who you are, right?
Yeah. And recognizing what needs to improve within yourself so that you can be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And think about the way to improve yourself. Yeah. To become the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enlightenment. Buddha was right all along.
Yeah. I know, but it's the hardest part.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's a tough road
Yeah.
to actually be able to know who you are, and for some people it can be quite confronting, and particularly those who have mental illnesses, and particularly with those people, those young people, it's really important that we reach them and we touch them in such a way spiritually that they can begin to acknowledge that they need to be healed. So how do we convey that message to them? How do we engage with them so that they can start the self-healing process?
Maybe reading books helps.
Yeah. And so we need to engage with these sick young people, and we need to say, look, we know that you're going through a lot, and we hope that you realise that you're going through a lot, because some people are in denial, some people won't acknowledge that they have mental health issues. I see this all the time in my hospital in Australia, and so it's a matter of also giving support and being patient to those individuals who are undergoing mental health struggles, so that when the time comes and they do acknowledge them, what these struggles are, we can say, well, we're here for you, we understand, and we're here to support you.
So that's also finding good person or good school or with good companion.
Yeah. So again, your peers,
Your
the
peers,
school, family, having the right sort of role models, having really strong social supports.
Yeah.